Hello friends, welcome to CEC Gurukul Lectures. Dear friends, today's session is very interesting because in this session today we are once again going to talk on career counseling as our career counseling session named Pratibha Samvardhan. Psychology is an area of interest of most of you. So if you wish to have more and more knowledge how psychology could be a good career for you, so dear friends, this is a session from where you can get maximum, because today we have with us in our studios Miss Sonika Bhargav. Miss Sonika Bhargav, I would say, is a talented young counselor. She is a personality coach. She has done her masters in clinical psychology. She is a Bharatanatyam dancer as well as she mentors students who wish to go abroad. So I would like to welcome our guest Miss Sonakshi Bhargav as we are going to gather maximum knowledge from her. First of all, I would like to ask from her, ma'am, please tell us how psychology has appeared to be a very important, I would say, a subject in everybody's life, because we say the trend is changing, as we can predict, as we can see. So how it has emerged as a career now?
Yeah. So I want to thank you for first bringing me to the show, and I want to talk about psychology. So ever since I was in school, I saw how, mental health is something which is given importance, but still children are very shy to kind of, come out and talk to someone. So counselors and psychologists provide us like a medium where you could share or express freely. In my life, psychology from the start has been something which I have been so passionate about. I come from like a field of creativity, which is classical dance. And I realized as a psychologist, I can combine the two and help people provide mental health relief. So today I want to be talking about what kind of careers can people choose. I come from a stream of clinical psychology where we help provide patients relief from mental health disorders. But I also want to be talking about some new industries that have come up in psychology.
So what are the contemporary careers, if we talk about in the area of psychology specifically?
Right. So I feel like some really new industries that have come in this field is aviation psychology. Gaming psychology is something also which is growing. We know that today children have a lot of access to technology and devices, and gaming psychology is something which is growing as a field as to what are the kind of games do children like to play, what are the kind of technologies that are coming over, how to digitally detox children. These are certain fields psychologists are working towards. Advertising psychology, we know that in the advertising industry, people use psychology to market their products, to make consumers buy it, also to provide people with, products which are wholly available. So marketing psychology, advertising psychology is also something which is growing. As, criminal and even when forensic and criminal psychology is also a field. So one of my friends, she is also a psychologist at Tihar jail. And these kind of rehabilitational psychologists are also in demand these days. So criminal psychology is also something that students could look at. Industrial and organizational psychology is another branch of psychology which is also growing along with business psychology. So in this field, people look at how to gain business for big MNCs and corporate consulting.
Yeah. Wonderful. So all these areas defined by you here, for example, whether it is advertising psychology or forensic psychology. So what degrees or qualification one need to have? Does one need to be a master's in psychology only, or if somebody is from the advertising field, did his master in advertising for say, and then he has done his another master's in psychology, and if not, so how does this combination plays important role?
Yeah, so to be a clinical psychologist, you are required to have a undergraduation in psychology, which is a BA or a BSc in psychology. Along with that, you have to have a master's in counseling or clinical psychology, and then an MPhil which is RCI licensed to practice in hospitals. But as compared to someone who's ailing from a marketing field, as you asked, or an organizational field, you would be, if you're willing to shift your branch, you would be required to do a master's in counseling or applied psychology, and then you could be a part of the counseling or organizational sector.
And what subjects one need to opt from the school level? If somebody has done, for example, from sciences background one is, and now one wish to go for the psychology, is the person is applicable to go for that?
Yeah. So, if you have not taken psychology at your school level, but you wish to go ahead and take psychology, that is completely okay. There are a lot of universities in India and abroad which provide you with that. So, as compared to Delhi University, requires you to have an undergraduation or a subject of psychology, and they deduct about 2% of marks if you don't have that. But if you are from a science background and you wish to be, do a bachelor's in psychology, you are most welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what are the specialized area in this particular field, in psychology specifically? Are there specialized areas?
Yeah, so the specializations in field would be something like clinical, as we just talked about. Community psychology is also growing. So, how do people believe and live in a community, and how do they grow, together? This is a very growing market. Counseling psychology. So, we know that today counselors are required at schools, hospitals, organizations, even startups have counselors today. So counseling psychology is ever growing. There are a lot of government jobs also that have come up for counseling psychologists. So schools have counselors, government schools take up counselors also. Even institutes like DRDO has DIPR, which is a psychological research institute, and the aviation industry. And educational psychology is another specialization that people could do. Forensic and yeah, another thing I want to talk about is art and music therapy. So, art and music therapy is something which is really popular these days, and people are wanting to go for unconventional therapy formats and not just go to on a one-on-one sitting therapy session. So, this is also something which is growing. And people could do specific specializations as something like medicine therapy, occupational therapy, personality psychology, healthcare, social work, law. So biopsychology is another field which interacts with how your biological functions work and your psychological also. So you must have noticed if you have like a headache or something, it's most of the times it's stress related. So people try to biopsychologists try to see how your headache, how your autoimmune system is working in your psychological conditions. So this is also a really growing field. Social psychology is another branch of psychology which deals with how social and society interacts with one another and how we can interact as human beings and be better.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, how one can identify, as you have told about all these areas of specialized areas of psychology, if I am a student and I am pursuing psychology, do I need to study all these areas, or I can pick one and then go ahead?
So I believe that in your undergraduation, a basic bachelor's gives us an array of subjects that we do our undergraduation in, and once we see after specific internships the area we are specifically looking to make a career in, then we could do a master's in that specific area. So for undergraduation, there is no specification required, but perhaps for post graduation, people can then specify in the area that they are looking for. Yeah.
And now the question arises, if somebody is from the another background at the graduation level, and if one wants to pursue masters in psychology, so how then one can opt for a particular psychological area?
Right. So if you, for example, if you're talking about if someone has done a master's in advertising or marketing or something of that nature, then along with that you could do a master's in organizational psychology, which is offered in certain institutes like Rice University, and over there you could then try to shift into an organizational sector. Yeah.
Fine. So this is what we are talking about from graduation at graduation level. One can opt for. But for example, if I am from a physics background or mathematics background, are there chances for me to get into a psychological area, a psychological course I could do?
Definitely. So most universities also, there are a lot of people who. So it's merged, right? For example, let's talk about artificial intelligence, AI, right? Alexa works in a AI and psychological concept together. So what AI does is that once you are communicating with Alexa, if you see that when you say that, "Hi Alexa, I love you," so Alexa responds in the same warmth way possible. So if someone, let's say, is from an engineering background, but then goes on to do their masters in psychology, they could bridge the two together and come up with something of that sort. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So these are the areas, and these are we would say this is the way to go ahead. Now those students who have pursued or those who have completed their graduation in psychology, are there career avenues for them also that after graduation they can enter into a market? They have Options?
Yeah, graduates in psychology.
Exactly.
So to be called a psychologist in India, you need to do a master's in psychology. So someone who has just done their graduation in psychology could go ahead and write blogs for psychology. You would not be allowed to work as a counseling or a clinical psychologist anywhere. But to do that, you would have to do a master's. But for graduates, you could do social media, psychological kind of blogs. I would also like to talk about some recruiting companies which
Exactly.
take, because I believe that there is a lot of population that does a bachelor's and, master's in psychology, but they do not have, as an MBA graduate or an MBA master's, they have a lot of big firms that take, placements. But as a psychology graduate, that is lacking. So I want to talk about, there's one space called Talkspace, which is a US based online therapy platform. This takes people as placements as graduates in psychology. Another place is, certain matrimonial services also, like Shadi.com also take placements for people. Another place I want to talk about is an employee wellness and asset management place, which is a Mercer Consulting. And behavioral healthcare and SWAT also does take, people who are graduates in psychology. Yeah.
So, are there any more companies which work in the same area, which gives recruitment?
Yeah, so I want to be talking about a specific. I'll just go through some specific places which are working for a lot of relief work in the mental health industry. So in India, we know that medical insurance doesn't cover mental health, which makes professional help inaccessible for average citizens. Okay, so there is a place called Inner House, which is bringing this gap by bringing therapy and consultation through online platforms like web and video chats and phone calls. So Inner Hour comprises 18 full-time team members, which includes Inner House therapists and people who work for relief of mental health work. So another platform is also by, an IIT alumni called Richa Singh, which is called Your Dost. It is an emotional wellness platform that connects individuals in need with experts like psychologists, life coaches and psychiatrists. So it helps in balancing relationships to productivity and ability to deal with societal pressure and parental pressure. So we know that relationships and peer pressure are two major issues that our society is facing with. So these are things, this is a platform which helps to work towards that. And I also want to talk about another platform called Visa. It is an AI-enabled mental health chatbot which uses evidence-based techniques like CBT. So cognitive behavior therapy is one of the most short-term therapy, therapeutic modalities, and Visa is a place which uses AI-enabled mental health chatbot. So I believe that this is another wonderful way, because a lot of people have a stigma attached to themselves that they cannot, reach out to places, and they are scared to go on a one-on-one in a therapy modality. But when you're in a AI based way, it gives you a safer space because you could reach out to places from your own.
As you have yourself mentioned in the beginning of the lecture about the startups, how the area of psychology paved the way for startups?
Yeah, so there are a lot of individuals who get into psychology. Is still a very emerging field in a country like ours, and I believe that when we talk about startups, these specific startups are providing relief to specific needs of our society, right? So like we talked about, I want to talk about another global digital startup which is called Trust Circle, which aims to make mental health care continuous, accessible and affordable to all. So these kind of startups are coming up so that people can get more access to free mental health care, because if you go to a private therapist, they still take about 1,000 to 1,500 per hour, and that is not affordable for everyone. So a therapy usually at a private clinic starts from 1,000 onwards, and therapy is also something which is a longer period of time. So it's not for one session. If someone is suffering from something like anxiety or depression, to get to know a patient, it takes about 2 months.
Fine.
So over a period of like a year, it will take people a lot of time, and if you look over a period of time, then it's taking about 5,000 per month for them. So these are places with startups which are making therapy more accessible for all.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what are the other career domains in the area of psychology? Can you mention some of them?
Yeah. So like I just mentioned, sports psychologists are another, growing branch. So we know that there are a lot of sports athletes and cricketers and sports professionals which need motivation, and they need, help to teach, and enhance their skills or just better their performance. So sports psychologists help you improve confidence, focus, composure, intensity, and, trust in athletic performance. So this is a growing industry, which, has people perform. Athletes improve performance, and in other areas of athletes life we need to, get better help and access them with, good people. So another field is neuropsychologists. Neurological psychologists help in evaluation and treatment of people with various types of nervous system disorders. So we know that people suffer from, in the old age, people have disorders such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or disorders of that. Neuropsychologists work closely with doctors, including neurolinguists. These illness and diseases are prolonged over a period of time. So neuropsychology is another growing branch.
Very nice. As we already know that there are psychologists who are found in every cadre of life, everywhere, whether in schools, whether in hospitals. So now what are the other areas where one can go and think that apart from the schools, colleges, as well as from the hospitals, we can find psychologists, because everybody needs psychologists, because everywhere we need a healthy work life.
Right.
So what are those areas?
Right. So, social psychology is, social psychologists work primarily with people from all areas of life. They work to better people's interaction with one-on-one. So, the study of social psychology primarily works on how individuals affect and are affected by other people and society as a whole. So, there I want to also be talking about that research in social, psychology that is happening and the factors that influence them. So, group behavior, attitudes of people, public perception and leadership are certain areas that social psychologists are working towards, and the work in the business settings of governments and universities also. So, another branch like you talked about where people throughout their life need help in various forms. So, when we are a child, we depend on our primary caregivers, which is our mother or father. But throughout our lives, we have different stages, and in each stage we suffer from different kind of issues and things of that nature. So developmental psychologists are people who are concerned specifically with the various social, physical and mental processes that occur in an individual's lifetime from infancy to old age. So this is another branch of psychology which works for understanding throughout our progression of life what are the issues we are facing with.
Wonderful. There is another question. Can a good psychologist be a good I would say a life coach?
Yeah, so I believe life coach we can find in anyone, right? So, your life coach today need not be someone who is from the mental health industry. It could be your mother or father or just someone you look up to, some celebrity or anyone who motivates you to do better and go on with our life. So, I believe that life coach, of course, a psychologist has a background in understanding mental health and helping people with it. But I believe like a life coach can be anyone who is inspiring us to do better every day.
Exactly, very true. We can find a psychologist in a friend, in a mother, in a relationship we cherish, we nourish. Now, apart from the clinical psychology or from the social psychology, are there other branches also?
Yeah. So another interesting branch that we were talking about is forensic psychologists, like I just talked about. They are often in both criminal and civil matters such as civil lawsuits, custody disputes and insurance claims. Those working in the criminal courts provide an assessment of juvenile and adult offenders. So forensic psychologists typically work to evaluate of mental competencies and work with child witnesses. They also work to help in law and psychological and legal issues. They also work in correctional settings and law enforcement as well as academic settings. So as we know today in India, there are a lot of internships. So people who are in undergraduation looking to get internships in this background, Tihar Jail is something a place which gives you access to forensic psychology. They also give internships for students in undergraduation and post-graduation looking to get exposure to the same area. I want to be talking about some human factors of people who are looking at psychology as a profession. So focused on studying how humans interact with machines to improve technology, consumer products, energy systems, transportation, telecommunication, and other important tools in our daily living environments. So a psychologist may not just be studying clinical or forensic or organizational. I feel like psychology is a mix of all professions. So what is important is that we try to understand how people and interact with society, machines, and workplace to try to maximize productivity and minimize frustration and stress levels, so that they can work safely and we help provide them with a safe environment. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what are the other kind of psychologists we could discuss over here apart from the forensic?
Yeah. So another interesting industry is school psychology. Today we know that school is a starting ground for most people, and this is the first step we have towards understanding or experiencing various parts of our lives. So a child primarily spends about more than half of the day at school, and there is so much that happens from the class of 1st to 12th. So a child goes to school at around an age of 7 or 8, and leaves school at a adulthood like 17 or 18. So there are so many changes that are happening in a child's life throughout that period, and school psychologists are important people that can help them go through those different phases of life. So school psychologists primarily the role is to work with individual students and groups of students to deal with behavior problems, academic difficulties, and also help out some people with special needs and other issues. They also work with teachers and parents to develop techniques to deal with home and classroom behavior. So school psychologists work in just helping to make children's life better. This is another important area people could look at, because there are a lot of government schools also today recruiting people for this, and this is an all ever growing industry. So yeah, and also school psychologists, the primary work is not only just to help make them understand mental health or behavior or things of that nature, but also to be there when as a first hand person whenever someone is suffering from any kind of distress. So we all need someone accessible when during the time of need.
Because every child has their different issues.
Yeah.
It could be a learning issue or a disturbed childhood, and there should be a counselor at schools so that they could help children.
Definitely. And today, if you look back at your school, I'm sure there must be some experiences that you must have felt were difficult to handle on your own, or even there's a slight hesitation where you don't want to just go and express with your parents or some adult, because people of that age might not feel that the issue is as big as a child is facing it to be. So, I believe that a counselor is a very important person in a child's life, and it's very important that school psychologists are available at all schools. Yeah.
Definitely. There is a lot more to learn from Ms. Sonakshi Bhargav. Dear friends, we believe that you are gathering maximum from today's session, and this session might be appearing interesting to you. So keep watching us. We would be discussing more on careers in psychology. Thank you for watching us.